Hey, good morning everyone. This is Roger. We're last morning and we're actually today checking out of Potenza and continue our story of the Dodgers. Today we're making our way to Campobasso, but we're gonna go to toward Foggia or Foggia, I'm not sure how to say it. Foggia to and make our way from the east back to Campobasso, where the line of advance that the Canadians took. All right, so we're gonna back up the car to the hotel and we're gonna load our luggage, get ready to roll. You know what they say?
Pack light, freeze at night.
That's it. I'm just recording you guys to have some back.
Are you really?
Yeah. Every excuse is a good excuse.
Well,
yeah. Good day everyone, bonjour tout le monde, this is Roger and welcome to this new episode of BIA DD Dodgers of Canada. Right now I'm standing in the town of Lucera, which was the starting point, the next Canadian advance to the mountain city of Campobasso. It is from the picturesque view of Frederick II Castle, standing on the hill to my right, that the 1st Canadian Infantry Division started their advance toward MonteCarlo. And from here, the new divisional commander, Chris Vokes, decided to form a flying column the same way that we did from Reggio to Potenza. And Lieutenant Colonel Norizos was leading this flying column. The Royal Canadian Regiment was the main element of the column, accompanied by tanks of the Calgary Tank Regiment and all the supporting elements that gave the firepower and the speed to this super element that was like really innovative in those years. So we're gonna follow their route until MonteCarlo, and I will tell you about the battle that is about to take place and how the course of events are about to change. Now, the Canadian 1st Infantry Division is about to enter a new and stiffer phase of the war. The German 10th Army has been establishing massive defensive line that they will call the Bernard Line, but for the Allies it's called the Gustav Line and the Winter Line. Since we entered the war in Sicily, the Red Patch Devil have been advancing and fighting through mountain terrain. One more time, Montgomery will be relying on his mountain goats, and they will be tested to the core. On the 1st of October, when the Canadians were approaching the town of MonteCarlo, they didn't know yet that this village was defended by the same paratroopers that they had fought for the Battle of Potenza. And their fierce fighters were determined to make the Canadians pay for every inch of ground they were going to take. Little that we knew is that from here, from the position at MonteCarlo, we have a commanding view of Lucera, and it is for sure that the Germans saw them coming from a long distance and were really prepared for them. As they approached the base of the winding road leading to the village, they were immediately engaged by machine gun fire and anti-tank guns. The leading elements of the Princess Louise dismounted from their vehicles and started to do a recce of the winding road and it was determined that there was many machine gun positions and anti-tank gun positions. So a plan was developed to do a combined tank and infantry attack with a company of Royal Canadians from the company of Strom Galloway and the tanks of the Calgary tanks. There was little artillery yet available, since they were still stuck. Most of the artillery that was supposed to be part of this column were still stuck in a traffic jam between Lucera and Foggia. So elements of the 10th Field Battery were available to provide a little bit of artillery support. As the combined tank and infantry make their way to the outskirts of the town, there was a lot of machine gun fire coming from adjacent hills that broke the team effort. The tanks rolled into the village, and actually Lieutenant Charbonneau of the Calgary tanks won a military medal when he knocked down heads-on an anti-tank gun. Strom Galloway realized that it was the 2 platoon of his company. He was not going to be able to take the town, so they decided to halt the attack and wait for the cover of darkness to resume and add another company of Royal Canadians on the attack. This little battle lasted more than 18 hours, and at the end, you know, the Royal Canadians lost 7 men killed and the same number of wounded. As the Shermans of the Calgary Tank Regiment were pushing north of the town, they were engaged by an anti-tank gun position that knocked down 6 tanks in a quick succession from a perfect firing position. The fighting for MonteCarlo was the first major action that the Canadians had in mainland Italy, and demonstrated the effectiveness of the new delaying tactics that will plague the advance from now on. Okay everyone, where I'm standing right now, I'm at below the bridge, the 13-arch bridge at the Fortore River, and this is where the Canadians actually crossed, the same bridge where they crossed in 1943, and also where they made the switch. When they left Lucera, the 1st Brigade was leading, the Royal Canadian Regiment, 48 Highlanders, and Hastings were leading the advance, and then from here, 3rd Brigade took the lead to carry on from that bridge. Actually, it's phenomenal, like where we found it. There's a lot of overgrown bushes back in 1943 that was not here, and I'm going to show you. We're going to go to a location where a picture was taken in 1943 that we can see actually where the bridge is and the feature of the mountain around, and we'll tell you about the actions that the 3rd Brigade took from this point on. If any of you watched the Clint Eastwood movie, their Heartbreak Ridge, I'm telling you, we could call the Italian campaign Heartbreak Italy. As the Canadians were going from Lucera to Campobasso in October, there was a lot of rain. The fields were all muddy, caking on their feet, their kit. You know, they threw themselves on the ground in the battle. They must have been caked with mud and everything. It must have made everything difficult, even the weapons dirty. All the respect to these men. After their first encounter with the enemy at MonteCarlo, the Canadians pursued their advance through Monte Sambuco, Volturara, and San Marco. After 5 days of advance, they arrived near the river Fortore, where we're standing right now. There was a 13-arch bridge that we can't see because of the overgrown that the Germans have blown. So 3rd Brigade at this time took over the advance from 1 Brigade, and the Royal 22e Regiment attempted to cross the river to go on the other side, but were pushed back because of heavy enemy fire. So we waited till the next morning, and the Carleton and York Regiment took the right flank to attack Gambetesa, and the West Nova Scotia Regiment on the left flank went for Topo Fornelli. After 24 hours of heavy fighting, the Carleton and York Regiment had lost 12 men killed and 16 wounded. While this was happening, the Royal 22e Regiment went cross-country all the way to the town of Yelsi. From the 9th to 12 October, 2 brigades relieved 3 brigades to finish the advance to Campobasso, and the division arrived at the door of Campobasso on 13 October, where the 1st Brigade took over the lead again to be able to enter on the next day. The Canadians were very frustrated because they thought that on their advance from Lucera all the way to Campobasso was too slow, but it would have felt a lot better had they read the war diary of the 29th Panzer Division that noted that the Canadians appeared again, which explains the rapid advance of the enemy. We should really be proud of those men for what they have accomplished in such difficult conditions.
The Germans hastily evacuated Campobasso, and the population cheered the Canadians as they moved triumphantly in.
Hello Roberto, where are you? There you go. Nice meeting you.
Hi.
Roberto will be our guide in Campobasso today.
Welcome in Campobasso.
Thank you.
Okay, when the Canadian soldiers arrived in Campobasso in October 14, 1943, they called this city Canada town of Maple Leaf City.
They gave it a new name, Maple Leaf City. It had baths and beds and movies of a girl from Winnipeg.
And they called it the name of the street with English terms. For example, this is Piazza Pepe, and in 1943 became Scar Street.
Okay. Okay.
This is the only remain, Scar Street.
It's the only one that remains.
Yes. Campobasso in 1943 became a very important logistic and administration center for the Canadian soldiers, and a recreative center for the soldiers. For example, this theater in 1943 became Savoy Theater.
Nicknamed Canada Town, and the RCMP directed traffic at the local Piccadilly Circus.
So Roberto is showing me a picture of military police doing the the circulation.
Yes.
I'm gonna go stand exactly where he was. Okay. Good job.
Corporal Davis and Sergeant Carver enjoy a nice cup of tea while Privates Bonomo and Williams.
Somebody showed me how to do the test. If their espresso is good, the sugar says on top.
Exactly.
Oh, it does. Good job.
Drowning, yeah, that's the rule, yeah.
Right on. You did good. Lord. Hey, Roberto, it's where we're sitting right now is a very special place, I believe.
Yes, in a very special place because in 1943 this bar, Lupacchioli Grand Café, changed the name in Crown and Stripes Club.
Okay.
For the Canadian soldiers, and the soldiers is very important for the soldiers for a normal life in this city, for a good eat, for relaxing in some clubs for in the city, Beaver Club, Savoy Theater, and often in the evening soldiers and the women in Campobasso dancing in the theater in boogie woogie.
Boogie woogie.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So that would happen all in that area here in the center.
Yes. Yes.
Well, this is amazing. I can just imagine if I would be a young soldier, 20 years old, been on the front line, the battle for months.
Yes.
And then it's my first time to come here and I relaxed. I think the first thing I would want to do is have a hot bath. Right? And you know, like you said, man, it's amazing that they were able to have this place to be able to, like you said, you know, some kind of normality in their life.
Yes,
right?
normality.
And you know, like a place to kind of forget about the war and relax and make friends, make new friends, and probably new girlfriends too. What a wonderful place, time it must have been. Thank you for the hospitality of the Italian people and the people of Campobasso.
Welcome in Campobasso.
It's amazing. Thank you, Roberto.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for telling us this wonderful story of part of our Canadian history and the Italian history.
Yes.
And the history of Campobasso, of course.
Yes. Yes.
I would like to conclude. We're gonna go to a bench park and we're gonna conclude with a very cool anecdote that I find out through my research.
Yeah.
Roberto, you know, I'm really thankful of all the stories you shared with us about the story of Maple City, Canada Town, and it's a lot of things that Canadians need to know about our own history. But there's something I think that I can share with you that maybe you're not aware of.
Yeah.
On the 13th of October, General Graham, Brigadier Graham, who was the commander of one brigade, had a visit from General Dempsey, who was a corps commander. And he told him that if he was to take the city of Campobasso before October 15, he would personally bring him a bottle of Marsala, which is a sweet Sicilian wine that the Canadians discovered during Operation Husky in Sicily.
Yes.
And of course, Graham was very happy about the offer. And since he entered the town on the 14th of October, he made sure to let know General Dempsey about it. And General Dempsey was true to his word and brought him a bottle of Marsala. Now, unfortunately, Brigadier Graham put the bottle on this table on the edge and it fell to the ground and smashed, and he never had a chance to drink a sip or a drop of his bottle of Marsala. So today, I think for the honor of Campobasso, you know, Brigadier Graham, the Royal Canadian Regiments, and all the soldiers of the 1st Canadian Infantry Division, together we're gonna do a little toast with the Marsala. So there you go, Brigadier Graham. We're toasting to you. Cheers.
Yeah.
It's before the 16th century, so I think it's 12th century. But because the structure is typical.
Those Normans, I'm telling you, they were everywhere. This is the highest point to look over Campobasso. Wow.
This is the direction they came.
Hi everyone, right now I'm on the bridge crossing the Biferno River. Behind me is the town of Campomarino, and in front of me is Termoli. And the Battle of Termoli was a battle honor of the Three Rivers Regiment, 12 RBC, that happened 5 to 6 October 1943. On the morning of 5 October, the tanks of the Three Rivers Regiment landed here at Campo Marino, crossed the Biferno River. For some reason, I believe this bridge was out of action, and there are actually historical images that shows tanks being forded, and because they probably, to go faster, instead of using the bridge, went across the river to reach Termoli, where they go there to support 78th Infantry Division for the defense of the bridgehead of Termoli, that eventually became a counterattack against 16th Panzer Division, and a major battle honor that we're going to describe shortly. As we're going to Termoli, we're going to describe this battle for you. You're going to see how the Canadian tanks were very important in winning this battle. In the early morning hours of 3rd October, the Royal Marine Commandos landed in the town of Termoli. At this time, the town was poorly defended by a company of railroad troops and only one platoon of paratroopers. It took no time for the Royal Marines to actually take it and establish a bridgehead. Later in that day, the 11th Brigade of 78th British Division crossed the bridge here over the Biferno River and went to reinforce the Special Force Commandos. They went out of town a few kilometers and established their bridgehead. The Germans were very slow to react. When the news of the taking of Termoli reached the commander, the 16th Panzer Division was dispatched to come to retake Termoli. They had direct orders from the Führers that Termoli had to be retaken at all costs. What is about to happen here in Termoli is a major battle in the history of Three Rivers Regiment. And we're about to learn more about it as we're going to make our way outside the town on the other side of the ridge and describe how the Three Rivers Regiment saved the day. I'm standing in the town of San Giacomo right now, which was the main objective on the 6th of October of Bravo and Charlie Squadron of the Three Rivers. By the evening of the 5th October, all three brigades of the 78th Division were prepared on their start point for the line of advance for the battle. A squadron was attached to the Irish Rifles, and their line of advance was to be along the coast to the first river, which was Torrente Sinarca. B Squadron was attached to the Royal Irish Fusiliers, and their line of advance was toward San Giacomo, where we are here, along the main road from Termoli all the way to here. Charlie Squadron, or C Squadron, was attached to the Royal London Yeomanry. Their line of advance was from the little town where they landed across the Biferno and across this plateau here behind me that is called Piano della Croce. This was by far, since we landed in Italy, the best tank country we ever had. And the Three Rivers Regiment were to make a big difference in the battle here. Bravo and Charlie Squadron were the most engaged squadron during this battle. And as they were advancing, supporting their infantry units, they took targets of opportunities of everything that was on their way. Could be haystacks, if they thought that a tank or an anti-tank gun would be hidden behind in the back, they would engage it. As a matter of fact, B Squadron destroyed at least 8 enemy tanks on their way to San Giacomo. The commanding officer of the Irish Brigade was so impressed by the support he received by the Three Rivers Regiment that he bestowed the commander's pennant to Lieutenant Colonel Booth and his troops. For the remainder of October till the midst of November, the Canadians were consolidating their positions around Campobasso. Around the 20th of November, The 3rd Brigade was ordered to move north toward the upper Sangro River and conduct some offensive operations. During this time, the remainder of 1st Canadian Infantry Division moved their assets toward the Adriatic coast in preparation for a big push to crack on the Gustav and Bernard line. What General Montgomery didn't anticipate, the stiff resistance of the German 10th Army that was ordered to hold their positions at all costs, and the torrential rains of November and December of 1943. Stay with us as we continue our journey. For BIEDD Dodgers of Canada, this is Roger. Till we see you next time, Custos Memoria.